Good morning and welcome to a beautiful, beautiful morning on the coast of Lake Erie here in Ohio. It is sun shining and 60 degrees. I'm super excited. Let's get on to the show. Hey, Viking Coffee. I am currently sipping some at the moment. This is their Costa Rican blend. Love it. I haven't found a flavor of Viking coffee yet I haven't liked. Obviously, my favorite is Old Man Strength. That is the blend from the show, specially created just for us. Check out Viking Coffee at vikingcoffeecode.com. Use the code VikingCoffee10 at checkout. Join all the listeners from this wonderful podcast who are now big fans of Viking Coffee. I promise you, you'll love it. Let's talk about CBD oil, and everybody has their own opinion on this, whether it works, whether it doesn't. I can tell you from personal experience that some work and some don't. Just like everything else in life, you have brands of this stuff that is garbage and brands of it that is fantastic. And let me tell you, Warrior CBD is the shit. I love it. Works really well. It's really one of the first CBD oils that I've ever used that actually did what it said it was going to do. The pain relieving is amazing. The anti-inflammation properties are amazing. It mellows you out at night, helps you sleep. It's just great stuff. It's super good for you. I am all about the biohack, about the health hack, about trying to find things that will make you feel better and perform better and look better, and CBD oil is it. Check it out. Give it a shot. Check them out at warriorcbdofficial.com. Use the code WARRIOR20 off at checkout for 20% off. Tell Nancy I sent you. She is great people, and she will help you out with any questions you might have. Cerberus. Just had a couple guys come into the gym the other day, just decked out in Cerberus gear. It was awesome to see. They'd used the code RefineSavage10 to get a discount, and they were really happy with the gear. And I'm super psyched for them, and it's nice to see companies doing well, and I'm glad we can be of help. Cerberus has everything you need for your strength journey, whether it's wraps and straps, smelling salts, tacky, t-shirts, belts, whatever you need. If you are in a strength sport, Cerberus is the place to go. And Ken is one of us, man. He is a strongman athlete, a power lifter, a Highland Games athlete, so he's been in the trenches. Give money to people who do awesome shit and are one of us. So head on over to Cerberus-strength.us. Use the code RefineSavage10 at checkout. Serious Steel, another company filled with awesome strength athletes doing awesome things for us. Best customer service around. The equipment is out of this world. If you are trying to outfit anything, be it a home gym all the way up to a big commercial gym, check Serious Steel first. See if they have what you need. Why spend $8 million on something when you don't have to? Go to Serious Steel. You'll get all the same equipment, all the same gear for much lower prices. And like I said, the customer service is out of this world. SeriousSteel.com. Use the code SAVAGE at checkout. Stay Classy Meats. Are you tired of putting on one of these face diapers to go to the store to buy your steaks, and then you get there and you get these factory farmed animals that probably suffered and had horrible lives? Not Stay Classy Meats. Stay Classy Meats delivers fresh, beautiful, tasty animal parts right to your home in a big freezer box. It's the best time of the year when they show up on the doorstep. Beef, bison, chicken, bacon. It's the best stuff. I love it. I love it. It's always the best when I know I'm going to be eating Stay Classy Meats. Animals raised on small batch farms in Bozeman, Montana, drinking fresh Montana water, eating fresh Montana grasses. It is the best way to go. Check them out at StayClassyMeats.com and use the code SAVAGE at checkout. The Breath Belt. The Breath Belt is the best piece of fitness equipment out there on the market today, and I can't say enough good things about it. People are all over the internet finding new ways to use this thing. It's crazy to me, all the uses for this thing. But whether you use it like me as an underbelt for weightlifting, or if you're using it for more of a rehab prehab thing, or you can use it for calisthenics and helping with back pain when running, Jesse, the owner, says anyone with a pair of hips is going to be helped out by this piece of equipment. Check it out for yourself. I can't say enough good things about it. Check them out at thebreathbelt.com. Use the code SAVAGE20, all caps, SAVAGE20 at checkout. What else do we have here? Our newest sponsor, Muscle Egg. So Muscle Egg sent me all these jugs to the gym, and I've been giving samples out to members. It's always the same thing. Ew, egg whites, flavored egg whites, that sounds gross, until they taste it. And then every single person I've given it to has been amazed by the taste. You look at the ingredients, it's all natural shit. Nothing you don't want to put in your body. It's great if you have like sensitivities to whey proteins or anything like that, because this is all natural. Egg whites, it's very convenient because it comes in like a big gallon jug. You just pour it in your glass and go. So no prep time. You can use it for recipes too. So you can go to their website, find recipes to use muscle eggs for. I know Zach at the gym has been putting them into pancakes and stuff like that. So it is fantastic. Check them out at muscleegg.com and tell them I sent you. They don't have a discount code for us, but let them know in the comments that you heard it on the Refined Savage podcast, and that'll help us out a lot. Speaking of helping us out a lot, head on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review and a 5-star rating, and leave us a comment and review. That helps a ton with all this podcasting craziness. Finally today, the online programming. If you need a guide, if you need a Sherpa in your fitness journey, let me know. Especially if you're a guy in your 30s, 40s, 50s, you 20-year-olds, you can pretty much do anything and get stronger. A little sip of my Viking coffee. But you older guys, if you really want to be in the best shape of your life, check out our online training program. Just shoot me a DM on Instagram. I will answer your questions, and then we can get you started on the program if you want. It's great for... I'm really, really, really getting into training guys in my age bracket and guys that need a little extra help, and maybe guys who've been out of a strength sport for a while and just can't figure out how to get the training back on track and establish some new goals. We're going to help you out with that. So we have programs for everybody, from guys like myself who just want to get in shape in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. We have programs for Highland Games and track athletes. Hayden is currently on our power program. He's doing really well. We have programs for old school bodybuilding. We have programs for foundational work. So if you're like a volleyball coach or a high school football coach who needs help programming for their team, Foundations is great for you. We have our Primal program, which is the exact programming we do at the gym every day. We have Gira for all you kettlebell meatheads out there. And we also have Hardstyle for all you guys stuck at home with no equipment. We can help you out. Give us a holler. You can shoot me a DM at The Refined Savage on Instagram, or shoot me a message at blinddoggym@gmail.com, and we'll get you going. All right, finally, let's get on with the show today. We have two of my favorite guests on the show, Malcolm and Abby Majesky from Ashland, Ohio. Malcolm is the strength and conditioning coach at University of Ashland. Abby is the jumps coach at University of Ashland, and they are both amazing human beings, and it's just always a pleasure to have them on the show. This was a Zoom podcast, so of course, because Spectrum is the worst internet company on the planet, we had some issues with the podcast, but that's not till the very end. We go like an hour and a half before it finally just abruptly cuts out. So enjoy this podcast. We will always have Malcolm and Abby back on the show, and check it out. We'll see you guys at the end.
It's on from jiu-jitsu. What's up, guys?
I walked into practice yesterday, and I had a sweatshirt on, but it was apparently a nicer sweatshirt, I guess, this one. And I had hiking boots on because it's snowing. One of the girls comes up and she goes, "Coach, I've never seen you in anything but athletic clothing." And I was like, "Wearing hiking boots, running spandex, and a sweatshirt. What is this?" And she's like, "It just looks really nice." I was like, "Oh man, I need to show you pictures. I own female clothing, I promise."
I see people from the gym at like Target, and I like the girls. I don't recognize them at all.
Yeah.
It takes me a long time to figure out who they are. So what's going on in Ashland?
Digging ourselves out of the snow right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
it's been ridiculous.
Staying busy though. We between the university and what Abby's doing with the studio, and it's just keeping us on our toes. And the girls like just run around back and forth, and everything going on with the regulations that we have to follow still and
Yeah.
thing, like it's just constantly moving and adjusting. And so, yeah, we've been very busy.
Yeah. What's going on with the studio?
So back in, I think May, maybe, I was approached by the owner of it used to be Studio Rise Yoga. It was in a different building near campus. And then she bought, Aubrey Bates, she bought out a big building downtown and turned it into, it's called Rise Wellness Collective. And so she's got like meditation rooms and massage rooms. And there is a small space in the back that she wanted to turn into a gym. And another woman that helps run the place threw my name out and said, you should ask Abby Majesky if she wants to run it. And so they approached me at like the end of May, and it was right when all the furloughs were happening for university. And we were like, okay, so running a gym is hardly like a stable thing at the moment, right? That's when all the gyms were still shut down. Nothing was open. And so we were like, do we even try this? But he was furloughed. I never ended up getting furloughed, but he had just been furloughed. So we were like, we literally have nothing to lose, right? Gyms are eventually open back up, but we're like, we have no idea what's going to happen with our jobs at the university. And so it was kind of like this like divine moment, like the timing was just wild. And it was right when track, I mean, we didn't have our outdoor season anyway, but like programming and recruiting and all that, like all of that had just come to an end. And so it was like, all right, I mean, we're quarantined. We literally aren't allowed, like he wasn't allowed to work, right? So we had some free time. So we were like, let's see if we can put this together. So throughout the summer, then we kind of gathered everything and put it together and opened October 1st. And so it's just a small space. Like it's not set up to do like open gym stuff. So it's all just, I teach 10 classes a week and then do personal training.
That's awesome.
Whenever it is, it's really awesome. It's been a super cool opportunity. But like he said, it's crazy. Like snow day yesterday because it was so bad. So I didn't go into the studio for the first time in since October. And I was like, it was kind of awesome.
Yeah, right.
I just stayed home during the day with the girls. We made a huge fort, like their entire playroom. I covered the whole thing. I was sweating putting it up. Like it's a sweet fort.
Yeah.
Did it more for me than them, but they enjoyed it too. So that's good. But
we couldn't get in yesterday, and Erin just happened to be off. Well, she was working a half day from home, and she was like, "You're never going to be able to retire, are you?" Because I was just driving myself nuts. I just needed to do something. Yeah, I mean, it was just ridiculous. They didn't plow our streets until finally they plowed our driveway, and then so we missed all the morning classes. But at 2:00, I knew my sauna was fired up. I knew I had to go get get in there. I had a personal training client at 3:30. I'm like, fuck this. I'm just going to go put it into low gear and got through our street with like snow coming over the hood and got to the gym. And by the time I got home, they had finally plowed our street. So it was, but yeah, I can't, you got to just keep moving, I guess. Yeah. What is this lady's deal? I mean, is she getting, doing a overall wellness thing with meditation and stuff like that in Ashland seems risky, to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, it is literally the only thing like it.
Yeah, I bet.
Here. And so it's actually, And so it's actually she's got a pretty good following because people are into the holistic living, right? They're into mind, body, like work on all of it. And there's nothing like it anywhere around. So
and she moved from a building that was right across the street from the university to the building downtown. So I feel like she had a pretty solid following before, like she made that jump to the bigger space and decided to do all of this. So yeah, I think that kind of helped put things in motion, like just all the work that she'd done with yoga. Because I think it was just yoga before, right? Yeah,
they're from the area too. Like she's from Ashland. Her dad and brother run a coffee roastery in town. Like I high jumped with her younger brother at AU. So like they knew people here, but it's been super interesting though. It's been really difficult actually to get people, like we thought it was going to be a super smooth transition because like all these people in the yoga classes are talking about how they want to get more strength training in and so like I brought in suspension trainers, like TRX type bands. They're not, but so suspension trainers, because I was like, that's a super smooth transition from yoga to resistance training because like I didn't do a ton with suspension trainers before I started the classes. I used them for like warm up or maybe like, I don't know, like auxiliary work, like at the end. They destroy you if you do.
Oh yeah.
So hard. But I just thought it was a really good transition from people who like, maybe they're intimidated by weights, right? They're not quite ready to really like go and lift weights. And it ended up being, it's one of my favorite classes to teach, but it's been really hard to get people from the yoga studio into the gym. Like even these people that are like, oh yeah, I'm so excited. And like they were asking for this part of it. It's been really difficult to get them to like break away and the class.
I get it because I'm doing the exact opposite where we are. So I'm trying to, since the start of 2020, even before the lockdown hit, I had started coming up with, new routes I wanted to go with the gym. But really once COVID hit and we moved gyms and I got to like revamp everything, I've really been trying to bring this into more of a holistic approach, and I'm trying to hire more yoga instructors, and we're doing things a lot differently. But getting our meatheads to go the opposite direction and I'm not talking 300-pound powerlifters. I'm talking about 115-pound housewives who just like to swing kettlebells,
Right.
Well, and she started working with somebody who was, she did personal training sessions with this lady who was experiencing injuries from yoga.
Oh yeah.
Doing yoga, which is something that I never would have guessed would be I get somebody getting hurt doing yoga.
Right. Well, I mean, but kudos to her for like being aware of it. You know what I mean? She was like, I had because just going through like a lot of the same stuff and recognizing that yoga is amazing. And I think it's a great thing, but it can't be all like, right. Like if you want strength, there's only so much you can do building that strength. And so for her, she had done basically, she told me I didn't move basically. She's one of those people that just like looks like a normal person no matter what. Like she could sit around all day or she could, and she doesn't unhealthy, but she's like, I didn't do anything my whole life until I was like 35. She got her teacher's certification for yoga and then went all in and did nothing but yoga for like 8 years. And then she started injuries from yoga. And then she's like, I need to revamp and switch it up. And so then she started coming into the strength classes. And so now she's doing this mixture of both and she feels good. That's a thing that's been really cool is watching, because it's obviously a much different demographic than coaching collegiate athletes here, So it's like, I go from the studio to practice and it's like big switch.
Yeah.
But it's been super cool to watch injuries disappear. Like that really neat. That's been fun. And like people don't even recognize they're getting so frustrated because they're not making these like crazy improvements that they want to make. And then I'll be like, but how's your shoulder? And they're like, my shoulder hasn't hurt in like a month. And I'm like, if you haven't said anything about it, I'm not going to bring it up. I don't want to put it back in your brain, but I know that you haven't talked about your shoulder in like the last 6 classes. So that's been super cool.
Well, and it's funny too. Like she's been getting a few people that jumped right into like CrossFit, like jumped into CrossFit without having any background in fitness whatsoever, and not pointing fingers, not blaming anybody, but they're getting coached by people who also jumped right into it too. You know what I mean? And so they've sought out help from her just to kind of hey, this hurts when I do this. What can I do instead of it, or how can I make it better? And just general strength training, like learning how to hinge at the hip, doing an RDL and bracing the spine the right way. Like it's made a huge difference for some of them. And I know that they've, noticed it and now they see it in others when they go back to doing whatever it was before,
It's, my rub on functional fitness in general has always been, like we were the only, when we were a CrossFit for the limited time that we were a CrossFit, we were the only CrossFit in this area that wasn't like from a different CrossFit gym. So the original CrossFit gym in this area opened up, and then a bunch of people became members. And then a couple of those members went, oh, this is awesome. I love this so much. I'm going to open my own CrossFit gym. Boom, weekend cert, $1,000. Boom, get your affiliate $3,000 or $4,000. Now you're in business. So now you got 4 people, 3 of whom are carbon copies of the original guy, and then those people get members, and then they have members who go, oh, this is awesome, I'm gonna open mine. So they just start like a pyramid scheme, you know. It's like that movie Multiplicity. It's probably before your time, with Michael Keaton, where you keep getting these worse and worse copies of the original, and then you start making copies of copies, and you don't have that background of how do you brace properly, and what are your shoulders supposed to be doing when you're doing a pull-up, or where am I supposed to catch this kettlebell? And that's the only thing scary. And then you get, CrossFit gyms are just like restaurants. So you get some shitty ones and some good ones. And
exactly.
Well, and like who have you learned from, and what have you done? I think that's a big thing too. Just if you've competed not only in CrossFit, but just have a competitive background, like with ours in track and fields, learning from Judd, like I think that kind of puts us ahead, and anybody that's been through the program ahead of others that just get into it, and I think that just has plays a big role.
Well, I think in a part of that too is that folks that just jump right into something like CrossFit or any other gym, any other place that they're just going to be like, go, and I'm at the gym, they're training to lift a weight in the gym, right? We trained for functional movements and I do 7 different things, right? I had to be through a lot of different movements. So we were training not just to lift a weight. I had a conversation one time with Judd. I power cleaned 200 pounds, and I was psyched about it. And I'm squatting, I don't remember what I said, like 270 or something like that. And he comes up to me one day and we're talking about it, and he goes, this is great. Why are you cleaning 200 pounds? I was like, because I can. I was like, 6 feet. And he goes, is that going to get you over 6 feet? And I was like, good point. Because at that point I was getting I was super strong, but like, maybe I didn't need to be hitting the weight so hard and getting so strong. Maybe I needed to be leaning out a little bit, right? Maybe I need a little bit more on functional movements outside of the weight room, not so focused on the weight room. So I think those people that only go into a gym to lift weights, they forget that this has to transfer, right?
Yeah.
Not living in a gym all the time. You're going and picking up your kids. You're going and carrying them from the car, taking trash out, whatever your daily routines are. Getting out of bed. How many people do that wrong? Shoveling the driveway. Oh my! I will say, my shoulders and my back were killing me after shoveling the driveway yesterday. That was awful. But yeah, I just think that we have that leg up also because we didn't just train to be in the gym. We trained to move outside.
Well, and the thing of it is too is you talk about the people who jump right into CrossFit, and one of the things we did when we moved to this building was we got rid of our whiteboard and took the competitive aspect out of it. And because people would do everything shitty to be done first. Yeah. And I tell you what, I had a revolt. I mean, I had one girl quit recently because she couldn't handle the fact that there was no board. She was constantly trying to compete, and she kept making these snide little comments about, well, if we had a board. And I started thinking, next time she does that, I'm putting her score up on our little whiteboard so everybody sees it all day long. It's great. You're a stud and you're really kicking ass. But what if you're just some, 200-pound, 5-foot-tall housewife who comes in, and now her fucking score has to be up there all day long? And look how all she's gonna feel is like, how shitty did I do compared to Miss volleyball stud over there who was killing it, so
that's that was always a big thing at the high school when I was in Columbus. Was they wanted to put a record board in the weight room, which it was mainly football coaches driving it, and and I get it, like you want to create a program, you want to build a culture and all that stuff, and that's one way to get buy-in, get your name up on a board, like it's cool, and now everybody's competing to get their name up there. But I think, I can't remember if it was Joe Ken, when you had interviewed Joe Ken, or if it was another podcast, but he was talking about velocity-based training and trying to get a score on like a tendo unit or something, or
Yeah.
get on a tendo unit. And he said, there's nothing that will bastardize technique more than just trying to achieve a number on like for a speed unit or something. And I feel the same way about a record board sometimes.
Yeah.
I go back and forth because like I hear we have one here in the weight room at Ashland, and I hear the guys talk about it, and they're like, I want to get on that record board so bad. And I'm like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to get on you every single day that you come in here, because you're not going to throw technique out the window. Like you are going to squat right. You're going to clean the right way. If you're going to get your name up there, we're not just going to hand it out to anybody. And we're not going to, change the overall goal of becoming a better athlete just, to get your name up on a board.
Yeah. And that was another thing when we came to the new gym. I threw that record board right in the trash, like we're not doing this anymore. We're going to look at a more holistic, more overall wellness approach. I mean, because 99.9% of the people I deal with, even though they may want to have a giant bench press, it doesn't fucking matter, for longevity and health and, and making them look good. And it's just, it can't be about lifting weights when, and how much weight you have on the bar when you're 35 years old in the middle of a pandemic, I don't know. But, we changed everything for the same reasons.
Yeah. Well, and Judd too. I mean, like, we all knew how much we lifted, and we all knew, how strong everybody was. Like, seeing Kurt Roberts clean 400 pounds, that stuff doesn't leave your memory bank.
Right.
I mean, like I'll remember that forever. But then I'll also remember him throwing over 70 feet in the shot put, and that's what it was. What was always more celebrated was the performances on meet day. And
what's Kurt Roberts doing now that he's not a 70-foot shot putter? He's in fucking shape, man.
I know.
Yeah.
He just posted a video on his story, I think yesterday, and he was doing push-ups in his basement.
Yeah.
Like he's setting up his camera and he's like going back, and he's got like multiple veins in his bicep. And so I sent him a message. I was like, dude, where did those come from?
Yeah.
And
they were there the whole time. Stop.
But man, talk about making a complete change. But
he's a perfect example of training for a purpose, right?
Yes.
That's the reason he was 300 pounds, because he was the best shot putters in the world. There was a reason behind it, right? And it was very methodical, and it was on purpose, and he did a lot of stuff the right way. Like he trained with big people and big names, and like not just size wise, like important, good, right? And now that he's done with it, he's like, why do I need to weigh 300 pounds anymore? Why do I need to be doing, I don't need this. I have a wife and 2 kids. And what he said, we were talking to him one time, and he's like, and one day I was like, I've always kind of been like the husky kid, right? I've never had a six-pack. I wonder if I could do it. So I'm going to try. And that's what he did. Like, he's just like, I want to try and get lean. I've literally never trained to do it. I've always trained to be bigger and stronger and bigger and stronger. He's like, what if I just try to be lean and healthy? And so
it's all the same path. It's all the same path. It's just a different reality. You just, and the thing I tell people all the time coming out of Highland Games is, as soon as you're done, get rid of it. Get rid of it fast, get that weight off you. And the thing of it is, just like Kurt with the shot put, when we were training in the pro ranks for money, there was a reason behind that. And now it's like, there is no reason to be 300 pounds anymmer, but you're just trying to hang on to that. Oh, I can squat double my body weight. Who cares? You got to get rid of that weight.
Do you ever have times where you think back and you're like, man, just if I could do that again, like if you could go back one more time and like do it, or do you ever have like I don't know, instances now, but then you still train heavy, like
just differently,
lift on the wagon wheels and stuff, and
that kind of feeds that urge. But first of all, I can't stop rotating. I'm still throwing a 56-pound weight in my head when I'm driving and thinking about that. And, but if I could go back and do it all over again, I would have completely changed my training up. I would have added a lot more kettlebells in. I would have added the steel mace in. I would have been doing very little bench pressing or strict pressing. I would have been doing a lot of calisthenics for upper body. And I think I probably only would have been about 265.
Wow. Wow.
I didn't need all that weight.
What was your heaviest weight when you were training?
312.
Wow.
At 5'11", you know,
Yeah.
So it was not good. It was the point where, and I've told this story a million times, but I was so fat that when I proposed to Erin and got down on one knee, I thought I was having a heart attack. She almost called me out. So she was like, "What's wrong? Oh my God." You know? So yeah, it was not good. But I deal with a lot of 40-year-old guys now who are in that boat where, what do I do now? How do I fix this? You know, I fucked myself up for a decade and now I got to get this weight off. And you have to put the same mentality, just like Kurt's doing. You have to put the same mentality into getting the weight off as you did putting it on.
Yeah, totally.
Shoot, that's being pregnant too.
Yeah, right? You know?
Yeah. That's exactly.
And it's totally possible. I see it all the time in the gym, you know. Yeah. Some girls will come in. We have this one girl, Kelly, who she's in the best shape of her life, you know, and it took her about 2 years. It took her about a year and a half to get back to where she was, and then another 6 months to get like super jacked. But then some women come in and they're just like, this is me now, you know.
Yeah. It's definitely, I hear that from people all the time, where I just want to punch people in the face and they're like, oh my gosh, you're so lucky. Your weight just came off right after you had the baby.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I did nothing previous to getting pregnant or while I was pregnant to get this started, you know.
Right.
I did weights until the day before both of my kids were born.
Yeah.
But that's important to me. And I felt good doing it. I was moving, I was constantly doing stuff. But before I got pregnant, that's just been my lifestyle forever because it's what I enjoy and it's when I feel my best.
Yeah.
And then after the kids, it's so funny. You have your first kid and you're a total wuss because you're like, oh my gosh, I can just sit and snuggle you all day. And can you please help me? Can you get that for me? I'm holding the baby and I don't want to wake her up. And then you have two kids and the 2-year-old is sprinting around and you're running and you're literally, I'm walking around nursing Olivia while I'm walking around following Penelope. Like poor Olivia. No, just sit down and love time. There'd be times I'd be like, Malcolm, I'm going upstairs. I just need to go sit with her. But I mean, I definitely took a little time off after each kid, but I maybe a month because I was just losing my mind. I was like, I have to get up and go. But you also have to give yourself some grace. You didn't suddenly get, out to here pregnant in a day. It took 10 months, right, to get there pretty much. And then so to expect it to come off in 2 months is extremely unrealistic.
Well, what did hunter-gatherers do when they were pregnant? I mean, it wasn't like exactly. The medicine man didn't say, okay, take the next 6 months off and don't do it. They were running from tigers and everything else. So
I had girls because I was pregnant my first year coaching with Olivia, like super pregnant, like the nationals, and I was almost 36 weeks pregnant. And thankfully we were driving. It was this is so funny. So we were driving to North Carolina, Johnson C. Smith, and I was in the passenger seat and Ernie Clark was driving and we're going down and he goes to switch lanes. There was a cop car in his blind spot. He almost runs a cop off the road. So he gets pulled over and we're sitting there and I just lean back in my seat and rubbing my belly. And I just kind of, doing these circles on my belly and just laying back because I'm very pregnant at this point. Yeah. And Ernie's like, I didn't even notice that I was doing it, honestly. Ernie's dying afterwards. He goes, I appreciate that. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, that belly rub? He goes, that was great. He literally walked up, looked over at you. He looked so mad when he got to the car. He saw you and you immediately saw the guy just soften. He's like, all right, I'll give him a pass. And I was like, welcome. I had no idea I did it. But no, thankfully we were driving because I'm pretty sure I wasn't allowed to get on an airplane because I was so pregnant. But I had so many girls on the team, actually guys too. They were absolutely blown away at how much I was doing while I was pregnant. They were like, are you sure you can do this? I was like, yeah, I don't suddenly have a disability, right? Like I can't not do this stuff. It's fine. Cause at track meets, I'm coaching. There are a lot of times when men's high jump, women's long jump men's long jump, women's long jump, and one of the high jumps are going on at the same time. So I have 3 events. So I'm literally running to 3 different places. Right. And people would laugh so hard. At one point, Ernie Clark comes up to me, and I'm probably like, I don't know. I mean, I'm probably like 30 weeks pregnant at this point. He comes up and he goes, listen, I know you're good. I got it. Like Ernie has 4 kids. Okay. He goes, I know you're fine. I know you can do this. I need you to stop jumping over stuff. That's it. To walk around the bag next time. Don't jump over it. Just for me, please do it. And I was
Right.
I got you. But yeah, they were just like, people's minds were blown that I was able to keep running back and forth, and that they'd see me in the weight room before practice. Right. Like, and I would tell them the same thing. I'm like, you guys, I didn't just get this pregnant today. Like, I got pregnant a long time ago. And as long as you don't stop doing this, I'm not smart. Don't be an idiot. I did pull-ups until I was probably 5 months pregnant with both girls. And at that point, like, I remember vividly, I did one, and I just felt it really, like, it didn't hurt, but I definitely felt it throughout my entire time. It's like, that wasn't great. Not going to do those anymore. And I didn't do pull-ups again. So I supplement it with something else, right? I'm doing lat pull downs, or I'm doing band work or something. But yeah, people like, I had one girl, she's like, you have completely changed my perspective on being pregnant. This is not at all what I thought it was. Yeah. That's great. I love it. You know, it's really cool to like have those moments. And
well, it's like Milo and the calf, right? The story of Milo, where he's just
pick it up every day.
Pick it up every day. You know what though? It's not any different. And I make a comment like, well, what do hunter-gatherer women do? It's not any different than the guys I went to high school who I see in Target now, who come up to me and say, oh, yeah, I can't do that shit you're doing. I don't know how you're doing that. You know, if this was sometime BC, you'd be dead right now. You know, it's keeping you alive is medicine, and you're on a heart medication and blood pressure medication and statins. And why not just freaking exercise? You know, you have to keep moving, and it's one of the things I'm really starting to get more and more passionate about, is helping people, especially guys in my age bracket, because women, it's a lot easier to convince that they need to be fit and active, you know, because there's always already the stigma attached to women, and you're supposed to look a certain way.
Yeah.
Guys get like this pass to be big fat guys, you know, and it's like, like a really pretty older lady with some guy who looks like, you know, some truck driver or something. How is this allowed to happen? You know,
how is this allowed to happen?
It's
super true.
You see it all the time, you know, and then you see it on like sitcoms, like the old sitcoms where you're like King of Queens, you have the big fat guy.
That is literally what I was thinking of the whole time you were talking about it. That's exactly what I thought of.
It's just so important that these guys, and I just want to get them in there swinging kettlebells and going for a mile run, or, you know, let's just be healthier, fitter human beings. I mean, and then I think, I really don't think we have a global pandemic right now. I think what we have is a society, maybe worldwide, of people who are just so ill-equipped to deal with anything outside the ordinary, that it's just a spotlight on how unhealthy everybody is.
Like we talk about it all the time. Like when everything got shut down and like we weren't allowed to go anywhere basically, and we were confined to our homes, like we were fine.
We're great.
Because I mean, we were
like we were so good that we felt guilty about.
Because
we just thoroughly, we were good. We were enjoying our time together. Go ahead, sorry.
No. I mean, we make our family a priority, and I think it's just the upbringing that we had from our parents too. You know, like my dad was home every night, you know, from work. My mom basically didn't work for a period of time to take care of me and take care of my grandma. And so like same thing with Abby's family. Like there's always been a big emphasis placed on, you know, taking care of each other and being a family and, you know, eating dinner together every night, home cooked meals every night. Like we do that with our girls now, and we'll go out to eat and we're always like, okay, that was nice because we didn't have to do the dishes or we didn't have to make the meal, but we could have made something better at home.
Absolutely.
So it is nice to get away every once in a while, but at the same time, we're like, it's almost a waste of money, you know, for us, because we've just figured out a way to make what we do work and, live a certain lifestyle. And I think you're right. Like, I think that so many people have gotten caught up in just that the rat race of, trying to be better than their neighbor or trying to have the biggest TV or, drive the newest car or whatever, that's, I don't know. We just have very different views on a lot of, and we saw it a lot when we lived in Columbus. And we are so thankful every day when like we'll drive down there every once in a while, whether it's to go down there for a reason to visit a friend, visit a family member, or just go because they have something that Ashland doesn't. So, we'll take a trip, and like we're so thankful every time we go down because the traffic sucks.
He complains about the traffic literally every time we leave.
I can't tell you how many times I almost peed my pants in traffic because I get stuck, and I'd forget to go to the bathroom before I leave wherever I was. In Ashland, we have to worry about a horse and buggy, stuck behind a tractor or something. But we see the lifestyle down there, and there's been times where we've gone shopping down there for something, and I'm sitting in the parking lot, and it's like everybody's just trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
And we don't want that for our kids. We don't want it for our families. So we're very fortunate to be able to choose, that lifestyle, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll also choose to like do things, right? Like, so over quarantine, I mean, we went hiking all the time.
A lot.
Right. We were outside. Fortunately, we had, like, over the years, we've accumulated strength equipment. So we had a bar, and we had dumbbells and a few kettlebells, or not dumbbells. We had plates, bar plates, and some kettlebells and stuff. So we worked out in our garage every single day. And we say all the time, we're like, I really miss working out in the garage. Like, it was awesome. Up in the garage, we would go out, and I'd be in the driveway. Like, we'd do our workouts in the driveway. The kids would come out and they would watch us, or they'd go and play. We would set up obstacle courses for them. They would do, all kinds of stuff, but we went hiking all the time. People like, everything's closed, there's nothing to do. And we're like, nope.
Right. Yeah.
Like, Mother Nature's still here, folks, and she's better than ever because there's not, like, we talked all the time about like not seeing planes or like jet streams and like things like that. And so we were outside, like, growing up, my family, I have 6 kids in my family. My parents are a teacher and a nurse. Like, we were solidly middle class.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a bunch of money to go stay in hotels or go on big fancy trips. We went camping every single summer. And I would say like 80% of my favorite memories from growing up are from camping every single summer. We drove to wherever we were going and we camped. And so, like, it's just like him. It's how we were brought up, right? So, so that's how we are with the kids. We're outside all the time. Like, screen time in our house is almost non-existent. Our kids they are allowed at most 30 minutes a day, probably, unless we're going to do like a family movie night and we sit down and, we do our thing together. But like, phones, like, we get on each other about our phones. Like, we both recently, we were both like, we are way too often checking just stupid stuff. Right? There's no reason for it. And so, like, but that it just doesn't, our kids, like I said, we built a fort. We were in the fort forever yesterday. Like, they do puzzles and read, or just go play. Can we watch this? No, go play. But I don't want to do this. Then you must not want to do it very badly. Go sit. I don't know what you do, but you're not going to go watch TV. So that's something we both have been super passionate about, that they don't touch it. And so then, like, I didn't watch it, but he did, that documentary, The Social Dilemma. He watched, but like, and some of the stuff that a lot of the stuff, people, like, it's blowing people's minds. And we were talking, we're like, I feel like we already knew that. I feel like this isn't that big of a surprise, really. Like, we knew that was there, and we've been cautious about that stuff for a while.
It's poison. It's poison for your brain. I try to, so when Aaron comes home for the night, that phone goes away. So I just put it on the table, and I'm done with it. And I think that's super important. And, I don't really get on her about it because, I've got a phony baloney job. She's been, running all day with patients and shit like that. So she wants to sit down and veg out and look at, she follows like 8 million animal sites on Instagram. Animals, whatever. There's no difference between that and me watching TV. But when these people are online constantly, and I love going out to dinner, and we'll sit at dinner and have cocktails or whatever, and you look over at the table next to you and there's some couple just sitting there both on their phones.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing?
That'd be crazy.
Yeah. It's
Well, what do you keep saying? You keep about like the athletes that we're working with now. It's the first generation.
Yeah, it's like grown up with smartphones.
Yeah.
You know, like smartphones and social media. And we're seeing more I don't know, mental health issues here. And I don't know. I don't know if it's a cultural thing. I don't know if it's from growing up with, you know, constantly having eyes on you or being pressured all the time to, okay, you need to do this because you need to get this scholarship, or you have to do this this certain level because it's better than so-and-so, or you'll be better than so-and-so. Like I part of me thinks that that's it, you know. It's just, these kids are just growing up with so much pressure on them now. And they get to a certain point and they just break, you know. And like we were talking about it the other day, and like our group of friends, you know, if we were to be in college now, or like if this were to happen when we were in college, I don't know if it would be the same. I don't know if we would handle it a little bit differently. You know, I think part of me thinks we would, you know, and maybe that's just us and the circle of friends that we had. Like we probably would have had a really good time. But now it's different. It's, you know, you turn on the news, like I'll turn on the news in the morning and I hate it. Like this morning I watched like 10 minutes and I was like, I can't do it anymore, because every time you turn it on, the world is literally ending. Like,
what did you say they said about the weather? It's not just a snowstorm. What did they say?
It's like Mother Nature's assault on humanity.
Dude, it's just snowing. Just say that it's snowing. Why does it have to be like the doomsday thing all the time?
Mother Nature has a personal vendetta against humanity.
We got rid of our real TV probably, almost a decade ago now, and it's been great because I don't hear any of the news. Ever since this election season, I've gotten more and more into political theory as opposed to politics, and what that means and what we should be doing as Americans, as opposed to what we're being fed every day by this bullshit government and media and everything pushing it down your throat.
Yeah.
But the best thing we ever did was get rid of our television cable, you know, so all we have now is like Netflix and Hulu and YouTube, you know, and you can
that's how we are.
Yeah.
And we always cancel Hulu after football season.
Yeah.
So we just haven't done it. We only get like a trial during football season, so we can watch games, and then we get rid of it.
But it's just so funny because like I remember listening to your podcast with Derek. And you guys got into some deep conversation. I was like, whoa. But I think like listening to what he said just about looking for like common denominators and or looking for trends, and not necessarily like what's trendy right now, but just looking for trends like in commercials and stuff. And, you know, when those commercials pop up, like what population are they really trying to get a hold of? And you can tell. And that was something I'd never really thought of before. And so I started paying a little bit more attention and to it and all. But yeah, like I said, it's just, if that's how you grew up, like you grew up in front of the screen and that's your source of that's what you trust, that's what you know, then it's, I don't know, for us, we needed to take a step back. Or I know I've noticed with myself, I've needed to kind of take a step back and just live in the moment really, and just kind of live in the now and appreciate, you know, everything that's going on, you know, right here and kind of with what we're doing. And you know, just with our family and like the girls and playing with them. And, you know, sometimes I'll notice that they'll just be begging one of us to come play. And I'll say, no, I gotta do this. And I'm like, no, I don't. You know, I can take a second and go play with them. And because that's important. and everything here too, you know, just being present with the athletes and with work. Because I know we both love what we do and have a lot of fun doing it. So it's I think just for us to kind of take a pause, take a moment to.
Well, when you look outside, the world isn't ending, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It was one of the things, I don't know if it was with Derek or with Jim when we were talking, but you look outside and that's your reality. Your reality isn't what's going on in Minnesota or Portland or thousands, you know, hundreds of miles or sometimes thousands of miles away from me. That's not my reality. It sucks. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there was a person on the planet who looked at the George Floyd murder and goes, "Oh yeah, that was legit."
Yeah.
But it didn't get me mad enough that I would feel as though I would need to burn down the local Target store. You know, I mean, that's something that the people in Minnesota should have dealt with the people in Minnesota, and they did. But the reason it spread so much is because everyone made you think that this was your problem happening in your neck of the woods because we're so together with social media and everything seems like it's right on top of you when it's not. It's problems for you know, we're gonna have our own problems here in Ohio, you know, and
for sure.
We're gonna have to deal with those, you know.
Yeah, that's what I was like. They had like Texas got hit by the snowstorm by a snowstorm or something, and I think they were saying how there was over 1 million people without power and water and stuff, and so immediately in my head I'm thinking, okay, there's a foot of snow outside, you know, go melt some down and drink it. Like I immediately went into survival mode, you know, for me, like just in case, you know, it happened here, you know, what do you do? And like I have books and we would be fine, you know, like one of my the former head athletic trainer here is a good friend of ours, and so like we stay in touch, text all the time, and he's a big hunter, and so like when we were on lockdown, we have a field across the street from our house, and there's a herd of deer that you know come out of the woods, and I would text him and be like, hey man,
if it goes down,
if the grocery stores run out of meat, we're going to be set for you know a long time. But yeah, it's just different, I guess. I've
really worked hard this year, and right now I'm about to fail for the first time this year, but I've tried to have meat from reliable sources all year round. So I've had I think I'm on my third quarter of a steer and a deer. And now I'm almost done with this quarter of a steer. And I'm like, I don't have another one. I have a half a steer ordered in May. And it's like, I got nothing in between there. So I'm looking for anyone who's got, you know, a steer going to market. But I think a lot of you know, like I've got a book on my shelf, 100 Deadly Skills, you know, just like, it's like, I look at Tim Kennedy down there in Texas right now, and he's outside playing with his kids. He doesn't care. He knows how to survive. He'll be fine, you know? And there's just that goes along with the fitness thing too. You just have too many people who just rely on someone feeding them every day, or someone, you know, giving them enough medicine to keep them alive for an extra decade, you know? And they're not putting that on themselves.
Well, and we talked about that with just what he was saying earlier with, you know, this is the first generation to grow up on social media, and how we're having a lot of there seems to be a lot of mental health issues and kids really having trouble with anxiety and all kinds of stuff, and I 100% think that there are absolutely mental health issues and illnesses and things that, you know, you definitely need help with. But I also think that part of that generation growing up, they've never had to deal with their own shit. You know, like there's always been what you're just saying. There's always been medicine. There's always been someone to say, oh no, I got you. It's like, or there's always been a parent putting everything in front right now. You don't have to work for it. You don't have to figure anything out. There's always been Google, right? I was just reading the other day, Google was born in 1998. So if you were this demographic, they've always known Google. They've always known, I don't know the answer to that. I'm going to just look it up on Google real quick. Like, I'm not going to read a book. I'm not going to ask someone. I may have told this, I can't remember if I talked about this before. I was subbing after I graduated from college, and I was a gym teacher, subbing as a gym teacher. Girl came up to me, first grade, wanted to know how to dribble a basketball. I was like, done, I gotcha.
Yeah.
High school and for 1 year in college, like I can dribble a basketball. And I said, okay, well, come here and I'll show you how. And she goes, you know what? Never mind. I'll just look it up on Google when I get home. It's the way. She told me she's going to learn on Google how to play, how to dribble basketball. Like it's not learn and do. And it's just always been like, right there. And so now people need to start figuring out they can't go anywhere. They can't just go and, kind of, mask it or cover it up with going out to eat and going to the movies and going to here and doing that. And, there's a lot of people have a lot of trouble with just dealing with their issues and figuring out how to be okay by themselves.
Yeah, that mental health aspect of it is crazy. And I don't remember anything similar to that growing up. I mean, and I don't know, I think social media has a lot to do with it, but I think like Malcolm said, the pressure has a lot to do with it. And I think the fact that people here, like, it's almost becoming a virtue. Being afraid of COVID is a virtue. That fear is a virtue. Having a mental health disorder is a virtue. They were talking about that senator from New York, that AOC. Mm-hmm. And when she was, she had said that when she was in the Capitol and the people were storming it, that, she was in fear for her life, and a cop came and banged on her door and she was terrified of that. Come to find out, she wasn't even in the Capitol. She was in a different building altogether. So she was full of shit. And then she said, well, the reason why I felt so scared is because I'm a victim of sexual abuse when I was a child. And I heard a guy talking on a podcast the other day and said, that's kind of an issue for you and your psychiatrist. It's not an issue for the public. You should be able to say, hey, you know what? I freaked out, but I have a tendency to freak out sometimes. And it was a weird situation. And, it's not, you don't make an excuse and now you're virtuous because you had this problem and you have this mental health issue due to that problem. And there's too much of that, that victim mentality where, in my generation, you didn't go to a psychiatrist. You certainly didn't tell people you went to a psychiatrist if you did.
Yeah.
It's a different world now. And I don't know if it's for the good or the bad, but I have a friend who has cancer and I think he's going to be okay, but he doesn't want anybody to know. And I can totally understand that, because it's too much of, when Judd got diagnosed, I don't think Judd had a fucking choice. I mean, that was going to hit like a shotgun blast. This guy, like, there's three of us who know. He doesn't want us any of us to tell, and three of us have been really good about not saying a word because it's his choice,
He
doesn't want to have that victim mentality that oh, look at me, and I can totally respect that. It's his life, and that's the way he wants to do it.
Well, and how many people do you think you could tell now that have a problem to suck it up?
Yeah, right.
Could you tell somebody who comes in and complains to just suck it up? You know what I mean? Everybody's got issues going on. I remember, and that's what, I know I consciously try to not complain about anything, bad night of sleep. Don't, like you said, don't let anybody know about it, And if anything, I try to hold that over people's heads. Because I remember, when I was working at the high school, so I was a contracted strength coach with the Wexner Medical Center, but then I was part-time at this high school. But then the high school also hired their own strength coach, so there were two of us there, and the guy's name was Jason, and he was phenomenal, like mentally extremely strong, and that was always the message that he tried to convey to the athletes, and he was very good at communicating with them and getting them to buy in. And I remember this was when, we were living in an apartment. We didn't have any kids, basically no responsibility,
No reason to complain.
Yeah, no reason to complain at all. And I remember walking in the one morning, and he always had energy, always. And I was just kind of standing there, and he was going through and he's warming people up. And I was just like, oh man, I'm so tired. I just don't have it today. And he looks at me And he goes, I have a 2-year-old at home. And then he goes back to just warming the guys up. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I felt so selfish, you know what I mean? And from that moment forward, like that is just something that's always stuck with me. And I'm like, nope, not doing it anymore. You know, not gonna, like you said, play the victim and, you know, look for an excuse as to why something is going on. It's just, just suck it up. You know, look at David Goggins. Yeah. You know, and I think I was listening to Joe Rogan and The Undertaker.
Yeah.
That was a phenomenal podcast.
Yeah, it was.
And they're talking about how David Goggins took like I don't know how much fluid out of his knee.
Yeah.
Next day he's out running and he's like, I bet you all thought I was down, and like all this stuff.
Rogan called him a national treasure, which I thought was hysterical because
yeah.
But you know, so, it was a good from the Undertaker's perspective too, where he was sitting outside that office in that wrestling promotion for like 8 months every day. Sitting there. He was not going to leave until someone gave him the contract, you know?
Yeah.
And we need more people telling those stories for sure.
Yeah. Like one of my first couple of years here, like it was just me with 500 athletes. And so it was a lot, you know, and where I was constantly bouncing around. And so the one, I can't remember her position. Rachel, is she director of,
I don't know.
I can't remember her position, but she had an administrative position. And so she sent me an email the one day. She's like, hey, would you mind stopping in my office just whenever you get some time? And I was like, yeah, sure.
She took care of like all game day stuff and like
game day operations type stuff.
I think that may be.
Yeah, we got there.
Director of game operations.
So she's like, hey, would you mind stopping by my office and wherever you get a chance? And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. And so I go in and she's like, I gotta ask you something. And she's like, how are you always so positive? And I was like, I don't know. I've never, but I think it's from having people in my life that have influenced me to be that way.
Yeah.
Also, so like when we left Oklahoma and like we didn't really have a place to go. Like I didn't have another job lined up. I had a part-time job with the medical center. But that was hit or miss with hours and stuff. And so, you know, I got a part-time job. Her brother at the time was a principal at a school in Columbus, a middle school in Columbus. So he asked me, he goes, hey, I need a lunch monitor. Would you mind doing it? Because the middle of my day was open. I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So like I had bachelor's degree, master's degree, you know, all the certifications. I had some experience, some good experience. And I'm wiping tables down.
And I was working at Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, and she was working at Hobby Lobby. You know, like I wiping tables down in the middle of the day and you know, getting disrespected by 13-year-olds. And then I went from that to working at in Rogue's warehouse, you know, packing fitness equipment. Before that getting
we couldn't afford.
That we couldn't afford, yeah. So. And before getting another full-time gig eventually. But so I think part of me just not many people know that, you know, that's kind of what we went through. And
you had to work hard for a lot.
Yeah.
For all of it,
yeah.
You know?
So we're very grateful for the opportunities that we've had. And
well, it's funny because you see online a lot from a lot of the younger Instagram influencer types and t-shirt vendors or whatever. They're grinding every day. Are you really grinding every day? You're taking pictures with your photographer and coming up with design. No, fucking grinding is, you know, working in grocery stores and you know, doing that kind of shit, you know, working in corrections for 19 years, you know, doing that shit, you know.
Tell them the story about Lance.
Oh yeah. So a friend of ours, he was a teacher in North Carolina, and then they ended up moving back here. Anyway, he's a teacher. They moved back to Ohio. He can't get a job anywhere, no jobs. So he wants to start subbing. Nobody will take him because they were already full, or subs die subbing, right? Like they don't retire. They just sub until they literally are just like gone, right? So subs are in forever and there was just no turnover. And he couldn't even get a position subbing because he didn't know anyone in the area, didn't know any names, so nobody would take him. And so he starts working. His wife was a nurse, and he's starts working at Kroger stocking shelves because that's it. That's what was available. And so he would go, and there was this older woman. He said she was like probably in her 70s, and her name was Willie, and she worked back in dairy. And he said it was ridiculous. She had like crates of like juice. Like she would have to pick up the whole crates and put them on. She's loading gallons of milk. And so he would bust his butt and he would get through all of his stuff as fast as he could as soon as he got there. And then he would run into the back and he would help Willie stock shelves. And so then he was applying for something. I don't know what the position was exactly. And he goes in and he's interviewing, and the guy is, asking him questions and that. And he's like, so where are you working now? And he said, well, I work at the Kroger down on, whatever. And he goes, you're Lance. And he goes, yeah, I'm Lance Frank. Like points at the resume and he goes, my grandma is Willie. And he goes, I love Willie. Like, Willie loves you. Can you start Monday? Like, it's like, like he did it. It gives me goosebumps. It's a good story. It's, and he's been working. And he's been working with that guy for the last like 13 years now. And they have their own startup company. They both in education that they're doing now. And it's like really awesome, but he busted his ass, never feeling bad about himself, like going crazy, saw someone else who needed some help. So he didn't like do his stuff like halfway, right? He busted his butt. He went, he did all of his stuff. Then he went and he started helping her, who also was never complaining, right? She was just doing her job because that's what she could do. And she's 7 years old, still doing the heavy lifting side. Like he's doing stuff that's like half the weight of what she's doing. And like, he's like, this is dumb. And then it goes there and it just kind of comes full circle. And so it's pretty cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
He said he's going to tell his kids that.
Yeah. It is. You should tell your kids that. It's a good story.
Yeah. It's one of the things I love about this podcast is I get to expand my circle to the people I want to expand it to.
Yeah.
And I talk about the circles a lot in this country, and all these people from Ashland are building their own circles and taking that Jed Logan mentality out and branching it out further and further and further. And I love the fact that I can connect with amazing human beings like this. So we talk about Derek a lot, and I was convinced that I was not going to like Derek Witzke. I just something in my head, and Malcolm will tell you, I was like, man, this guy, I don't think I'm going to like this guy. And we sat down for that first time, and it was like, oh, and now it's like, I text Derek Witzke like weekly now.
Yeah.
Brandon
Did
Lilly
we just become best friends?
That's what it was like, Brandon Lilly was another one. I was positive I wasn't going to like Brandon Lilly, and he's another one that but through this podcast, you get to see real life humans doing awesome shit, not on Instagram, and they're talking to their circle of people, and it gives me hope for the country that there are plenty of these circles out there, touching other people's circles, and not afraid to hug their grandmother, or wearing 6 masks when they go out, and it just there's hope. There's plenty of people out there like Lance who are doing awesome shit for no street cred at all,
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
I talked to, so the other day I was talking about, so I'll mention this, even though it's going to kind of be, so every once in a while I'll go through Dunkin' Donuts, and if someone's behind me, I'll just buy their shit and leave, and I was talking to Hayden. I said, the thing about this is because it's the first time he saw me do it. And I said, you don't need to tell anybody about this. You don't need to put it on Instagram. You just fucking do it and go. And they don't even realize it. They weren't paying attention. They didn't see who it was. It's just a nice thing to do. And I think that I think there's plenty of people out there who are doing that. Like Lance going to help the lady. There's plenty of people out there doing that shit. You just don't hear about them. When you your phone, and it's out there, that positivity is out there for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's, like you said, with the circles and the people that you kind of keep close to you, and like, we might know it. We knew that Lance did that because we've become close, and he's become part of our circle now, and their family. And I think that, I don't know, you what's the word? Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah.
I want Malcolm to get a shirt that says that.
So that's a Ryan family quote. Okay, that's Ryan.
I'd buy that T-shirt.
I can't take credit
I've
for
never
it,
heard
but
you say that. That's awesome.
But no, it just came. I think you're right. Like that circle that you keep, and well,
family's another one who, I knew him from the internet, but you sit down and talk to him and go, this is an awesome human being, man. What a character he is.
Yeah. Like fitness and strength and conditioning aside, like if there's something that I don't know, like we had a kid that he has like frayed muscle fiber in his pec. He strained his pec, in the summer maybe. And you could tell, like his one is just gigantic compared to the other one. And so like I texted him the one day and I was like, hey, what do I do for this? And so he sent me something that's completely maybe off the wall to like a trainer or somebody, like an athletic trainer, like not your typical rehab, but it's working. Like the kid's like, oh my gosh. He goes, I noticed the difference in a week.
Yeah.
So there's always that, you find people and you outsource certain problems to and stuff, but like
he's just so
that
funny.
Aside, he's an awesome person.
He's such a dad, and he's like, I mean, I don't think I've ever commented on anything that Ryan's ever done in terms of strength and conditioning, but like I'll just send him messages about like his daughter or how hard I like this one thing that he did, like with his son, or like, oh, Penelope did this. Like he's what is it? Like from Shrek, he's an onion. There's layers. Yeah. I always talk to people about that though. I'm like, I know so many like really huge people, like just large men. Like I know very large men who are very intimidating looking to a lot of people, I think. And I don't even register it because going to Ashland, the throws group, like that just is what it is. Like I don't even know. And they're just the softest people I've ever met. It's so funny, like watching all these huge dudes, like with little girls, like their like daughters or their sons, like climbing or like sitting on their feet and walking or dancing or just being so goofy. Like Judd's one of the most emotional, just like thoughtful people I've ever met in my life. But you wouldn't look at him and like immediately think that, but like he is. I mean, he's got a lot of.
That reminds me of Joe Woodsky. That's all Joe Woodsky posts is pictures of his beautiful family and living up in wherever the hell they're living. But I mean, it looks like they're just living the life up there, And if you saw Joe Woodsky in person, you'd be like, I'm not messing with that motherfucker.
I know, yeah.
He's looking too.
Well, and him and Derek will talk to anybody. Like, that's what was always so cool, because when we were athletes, like Derek and Joe both would make their way through Ashland at certain points, like Derek always comes back, once every 3-4 years, that sort of thing. And so like, we knew who he was and we knew what he had done. And he was working for Poliquin at the time. So like us in exercise science, we're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. So smart and all this stuff. And so like, he would come back and he would always talk to the group, but then he would always take time to just individually talk to people and really connect with them and always just very present with whoever he was talking to, which I just thought was so cool, and that's
a Canadian thing though, they're Canadian.
Well, that's so funny that you said that, because I was gonna say Crystal and Kibway are the same way.
Yeah. So I just had dinner with Kibway Saturday night. We went out to the Red Hawk Grill out in Paynesville or something. And
Nice.
me, Aaron, and Hayden met Kibwe out there. So
Awesome.
he's making his mark out there. He's getting ready to kick some butt at Spire and
Love it.
do his thing. And he's
Well,
recruiting.
Small world. My cousin works there. He's an athletic trainer out there. He was down at IMG at the same time Kibwe was too.
No shit. Yeah.
Isn't that funny? They like just crossed paths like both times. They were only there for a little bit of time together at the same time. And then my cousin left right before Kibwe. And then my cousin ended up at Spire. And then now Kibwe just went
Well, Kibwe, have you ever been down to Spire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or not Spire, down to
IMG.
IMG?
Yeah.
I mean, that was not where Kibwe belonged, you know.
Yeah.
That place, I used to tell that story about when we went down to visit. He's under the bleachers with a rusty power rack and a bar training for the Olympics while he's got all these multi-million-dollar weight rooms all over the place. It's like,
their freaking weight room. They had the vibration platforms or whatever. Those are like $50,000 a piece, and they have 5 of them lined up on the wall. I'm like, Jesus.
Coolers with everybody's drinks and stuff that they can get. There's all the free drinks you want. It's just like,
but look at the program he developed there. You
Wow.
know, he went from when we went and visited them, I don't think he had anybody. I don't think he had an athlete there yet. And by the time he left, I think he was up to like 8, maybe 7 or 8, maybe more. I don't know. I just know that he did a pretty good job, and I think he'll do the same thing at Spire.
Yeah, and his one kid from Arkansas that went now I think he's at Arkansas. Sent me a message about Hayden the other day. It's just like, you know, here's this kid who's probably kicking ass in college now and taking the time to,
That's cool.
to talk about Hayden to me. So that was pretty cool of him. But,
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's going to do good stuff at Spire. But again, those that weird circle that we all are involved in, you know, whether you know you went to Ashland or you're married to somebody from Ashland, or you know, it's just
for him to be back in Ohio. Nobody ever. I don't think anybody ever thought that Crystal and Kibwe were.
Crystal and Kibwe ever thought Crystal and Kibwe were coming back.
Malcolm texted me.
Kibwe once told me.
I can't confirm. I
know. Yeah.
Kibwe once told me, he's like, I will never live in Ashland again because he goes, I moved to Canada and I haven't sneezed in 3 years. I got off in Cleveland or wherever he was. He goes, and I immediately sneezed like 12 times. I thought I was dying. He's like, I can't live here again. And here they are. Terrible allergies and whatnot. He's like, go to Canada. You'll never sneeze again.
I'm the same way. I have to go get a shot every spring now. I had to fight with my doctor to get it, but this place is ridiculous for allergies. I don't know what the problem is, but he's going to do good stuff there. He's already recruiting, and
that's awesome.
Yeah. What are you guys doing I know I saw one indoor meet. I think you guys were at Youngstown State, but what's the indoor season looking like?
Yeah, we've competed every weekend. We had one.
Oh, good.
And we've competed every weekend. There's just different protocols, right? There's different, you have to test a certain number of times or, you know, do temperature screening or whatever it is. So like we went to Kent last week, we're going to Kent this weekend. We have conference next weekend. That's the scary is honestly, that's for me, like, that's because I've been fortunate enough to not really have too much of like with COVID, like neither of us has had it. Granted, we've had a couple athletes that have had some pretty gnarly cardiac stuff come from it. But if I test positive, I can't coach for 2 weeks, right? Like I have to miss, even if I'm totally asymptomatic, right? So all of our athletes were like, I don't care what you think. I don't care what you feel. I don't care. Just freaking stay by yourself for a little bit or something. Like you can't test positive or you don't go to conference, or if you qualify for nationals and you test positive, you don't get to compete. Right. So if I test positive, like we tested this morning, if I were to get a positive test back, I don't go to conference next week. So like, that's the kind of stuff where we're like, guys, I know this sucks. I know it. I get it. But you can't test positive.
Yeah.
Obviously your health is our number one concern, right? We don't want you to get super sick if you're gonna get whatever it is. So like a girl, she had myocarditis, she had all this inflammation around her heart, she had an infection, she developed asthma from it. Most people aren't getting that, and I understand that. But she did, and it's wild, and she's finally getting cleared to start practicing again next week. But even if it's like you're just going to get it and have just whatever the mild symptoms are and stuff, you're still out for 2 weeks, and we're done. We don't get time to put you at the meet over friggin' Snapchat or something, right? We're gonna Zoom meeting so I can coach you. So, so we've been competing every weekend. We've had very few cases. Our guys have been awesome. So we've had very few cases on the track team. We had several over Christmas break, but then when we came back, we've had very few. And then moving to outdoors, we have less meets scheduled for outdoor. That's still up in the air. We don't know what that's going to look like. We've been talking about it a lot, but we're not sure. But we've just had no spectators. And people are like, great. So it's like any other track meet. All right, cool. Fine. But it has sucked. People's families not being able to be there, and people. But it's so far. I mean, the team has kind of done a good job of really like just bringing energy. You got to bring it yourself, right? It doesn't matter. You compete. You got to bring it yourself and lift people up and try and create the atmosphere, because we don't have anybody there to watch. And so the schedules have been weird with meets. That's the biggest thing that's been different, is they're trying to like pod field events, running it. But then if you're a sprinter who's trying to do multiple events, you literally have like 15 minutes between like a 200 and 400 or something like because they're doing sprint groups and then distance groups. So, I mean, it's literally like 60 meters, 60 hurdles, 200 or 400, 200, 4x4. And they're like, there's no rest. And so that's been really wonky trying to plan that part out. Or like they're trying to do all the field events first. So they're starting at like 8 a.m. So it's just like, we have to travel too, right? You have to get there, travel, warm up for an hour, and then compete at 8 a.m. so that you're done by noon, so that then sprinting events can start. And so the schedule has been the wonkiest thing. And like at meets. But it's gone surprisingly well. I mean, we've got some kids are doing well, and we've been able to compete a lot, which is something that we didn't think we were going to get to do. So we're thankful.
I was really worried that he wasn't going to have, that Hayden wasn't going to have another season. You know, it looks like he's competed. I think he'll end up competing 5 times, including states, and then hopefully we'll roll into outdoors. But
well, that's good.
Yeah, it was crazy. He didn't get his outdoor season, and I mean, it was watching some of these kids. You know, one kid that we knew happened to sign early, and we said, "This might be something you might want to look at." You know, who knows what could happen down the road? You know, you get a decent offer, take it. You know.
Yeah. Abby has a class that she has to go teach from. So
you guys can continue. I just
cut out. Yeah.
Okay. Go get
this
it.
This is awesome. Thank you. I'll see you later.
Problem.
Thank you so much.
We'll do it again.
Bye.
Yeah. I'm just glad he's hopefully it looks like he's going to get a season and finally get, I mean, it's been interesting because he came back and a lot of kids, I don't think did shit in the off season. You know, they just
I got my coat. Sorry.
And now they've been sitting around for a year not doing anything.
Yeah, that was the thing that I know when athletes came back here in the fall, that was the one thing that I wanted to try to I don't know, maybe instill in them or just kind of nip in the bud, like, you better be doing something because, you know, whether you're going to have a season or not, like, we're going to come back here and I'm going to just go right into the program like you have been doing something.
Right.
You know, and so I know in the fall, especially like our first week back, like we really got after it. And because I had talked to a couple of other coaches and some other coaches in the conference, and they're like, oh yeah, we're doing this and we're doing that and blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, that's good. We're going to go harder. You know, like if we're going to have an edge up on anybody else, you know, this is how we're going to do it. And so I think just kind of setting that tone, or like we set the tone early, and then this winter when they came back, we pretty much just jumped right back into it with that same mentality. And a lot of them were very ready, you know. A lot of the athletes I think that we're counting on to go out and perform and stuff, I think they were ready to go and they're ready to hit it. So no excuse.
Yeah, we've actually our athlete program at the gym is really been taken off, and
Yeah.
it's almost better because you get the cream of the crop kids who are still training, and they were going to be awesome anyhow, and instead of having to deal, guys, well, probably not as much at your level, but these high school strength coaches who have to deal with kids who are hiding in the corner and shit like that. Those kids are just kind of fading away, but you can deal with the kids who actually want to get better and do awesome shit.
Well, it's weird you say that, because I just kind of put some feelers out, as we were going into Christmas break, because so we shut down like Thanksgiving. That week of Thanksgiving was the last week that we were supposed to be in person with the majority of the athletes.
Yeah.
Like the ones in winter sports, like they were still going to be coming back after Thanksgiving, but we shut down with everybody else. And with a couple of sports that week before, more kids started getting sick. So we canceled lifting that week and any practices and stuff. And so there was a period of 2 months that I went without seeing anybody.
Wow. Yeah.
So I didn't have a lot going on. and so I just put some feelers out, and I was like, hey, if you're a high school kid in the area and you want to train, like I'm available, shoot me a message. And, went to a facility just south of here and said the same thing. So more kids have started reaching out about, more parents and kids have started reaching out about, training and using this time, to, help benefit them and get ready for their season, which, I mean, I've been here for 6 years, and it's really the first time that I've had this many kids and parents kind of reach out. So it's, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. And that's the thing with this whole COVID thing is, people are just like anything else. You're going to make moves, and, like opening up the studio and getting to train more kids, and us moving our gym and switching up the programming. You can either make moves and thrive during it, or you can crumple and use that again as a virtue that, I failed, but I failed because of COVID,
Yeah. Well, and we had to be so flexible here anyways, with everything going on, like, okay, so we come back in the fall, maybe we'll have a season, for winter sports, or, this is what this period of time is going to look like. So let's plan for this for a while. And then all of a sudden in a week, it changes. Like it completely changed from being off season or out of season for most sports. So like with football, for instance, we came back and it was like, okay, this is a developmental period for us. We're going to work on getting bigger, faster, and stronger. And then they switched it up and they're like, okay, we're going to start practicing. We're going to have a spring type schedule where we have some scrimmages just amongst ourselves. So we need to change the focus of lifting. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
So the program completely flipped, in a week. But it's been like that for everybody. So I think for us, it's just being able to be flexible and just roll with the punches. That's been the story of the whole thing.
Yeah. I'm wondering how we're going to get out of this. And I don't know. I keep telling people that I think the way we get out of this is that we get ourselves out of it. Mm-hmm. And because I don't think you're ever going to hear a government official say, oh, it's okay not to wear a mask anymore. Or it's okay. Yeah. You can get together in gatherings. I think they're so afraid of saying the wrong thing or getting sued by someone that it's just going to take people just being fed up with it enough to go, okay, we're going back to normal. But dealing with something like you do with an institution, a college, those are going to be the slowest things to come out of this, Dealing with people's kids, and
it's been tough. Like I try not to pretend like I don't know what's going on when they walk out of the weight room either. I know that when they come in, so like we're supposed to have them wear masks when they come into the weight room, and like we're in masks and stuff. And it's like, okay, I know as soon as they walk out of that weight room, that the masks are off. They're hanging out with each other. They're around each other. They're hanging out with other athletes from other sports, general student population.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to pretend like they're all just sitting in their rooms, following all the rules, so
they're going to college. They just want to get laid.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's the bottom line. And so I think that that's just kind of helped me keep my sanity. And I know some people that have still, they're just like gung ho about the whole thing and trying to just be the law and lay down the law all the time, and they're driving themselves crazy. And
and I made a post the other day too. What's not helping is, I see people doing jujitsu and they're wearing their masks because they're filming something for the camera, or like I have a kid that we train who's away at college, and they do this like rite of passage when you go from freshman to sophomore year. So they all did this run, and then they had to take a group picture afterwards. They said, "Okay, put your masks on for the picture." We know you're not doing that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So my philosophy on this whole thing was, I'm going to get my people as healthy as humanly possible, so that if they do get this, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
And boost their immunity and try to get out correct information that will help people combat this. And there's not enough. It's a shame that we get the best healthcare information on dealing with this from people like guests on the Joe Rogan show, as opposed to our government saying, okay, this is the best course of action we think you should take.
Yeah.
I've listened to more immunologists on podcasts than never would even interested me before, but
yeah, for sure.
You have to go out and search for that truth.
Yeah. I remember talking with a coach, like when the whole thing first started. I don't even know if maybe track had just gotten back from nationals, or they had just canceled nationals or something. Like there was a lot of information coming out, and it was, wash your hands and, spend some time just taking care of yourself. And so like, I remember talking with the coach the one day, and I was like, it sounds like if you're just a decent human being, like you're going to be okay. It's nothing our parents didn't teach us, to, go to the bathroom, wash your hands. Like that's normal.
Don't sneeze on people.
Don't sneeze on people. Yeah. Yeah. There's a friend of ours who's a teacher, and she's like, yeah, she goes, I'll follow the guidelines and stuff, but like I've literally had kids sneeze in my face in class, and she's like, I'm going to be exposed to so many other things.
So one of my things when I first started this, so when they closed all the gyms down, I was still doing jujitsu, kind of Fight Club style, sneak in, get it done.
First rule of Fight Club is
And people were like talking to me about it on the download, the ones that knew, and they're like, aren't you worried about this? And I'm like, man, you know what? My immune system's pretty good. I'm pretty healthy. Yeah. I think that people staying away from each other, wearing masks, constantly washing and sanitizing their hands, I think this is going to be a problem. And I talked to Corey Lamar about this on the podcast. I said, I think people are going to lose that immunity they get from normal bacteria getting on them. And I said, I'm going to keep rolling jujitsu because I had my instructor the other day just showing a move, and he, every once in a while he'd spit would come out of his mouth and hit me in the face. And it's just like, but I started to look at just here at the local high school, Hayden's school, the basketball team there has had like a ton of cases, and all these kids getting quarantined. You're not seeing that with the wrestling teams. The wrestling teams are doing fine.
That's so crazy.
I think it's just because they are the ones that are still